This weekend is the last week of the liturgical year. So the liturgical year almost lines up exactly with the calendar year, but we're like a month off. So next week is the first Sunday of Advent, and that's the start of a new liturgical year. And the liturgical year kind of follows a progression towards a destination. So next week, we start again with Advent, which is the season of trying to get ready for the coming of Jesus. So it's almost like starting at the very, very beginning. You know, we're waiting for God to come. This weekend, is the feast of Christ, the King of the universe. And so it's actually like the culmination of everything. So beginning of the liturgical year, we're waiting for God to come. This weekend is a celebration of the fact that he reigns, and he will reign forever. And this weekend in the gospel, it comes from the Gospel of John, which I think I've told you before. I just love the Gospel of John. And Jesus, all throughout John, has these conversations with people, and they're so deep. I mean, they're great for prayer. If you're looking for something to pray with, find one of Jesus's personal conversations with someone in the Gospel of John. Like if it's the woman at the well in John chapter 4, or if it's Nicodemus coming to him by night. Or if it's this one that we hear today, where Jesus and Pontius Pilate are having a little back and forth. Jesus always reaches into their world, wherever they are, whatever their concerns are, whatever their thoughts are, whatever's going on in their head, and then he uses that to draw them into his world. And so the conversation this weekend with Pilate has to do with stuff that Pilate's interested in. Pilate is a diplomat. He's a leader, a Roman governor of a province. He's probably interested in politics, power, rising through the ranks. Probably wants to get the heck out of Palestine as fast as he can, this backwater, region of the Roman Empire, and get back to Rome as quick as he can, where the weather is nicer and the food is better and all this kind of thing. And he's interested very much in power. And so this Jesus guy is before him. And he's before him because Jesus' leaders, the religious leaders, claim that he is trying to assert himself as king. Now, king, that's a language Pilate understands. But he's looking at Jesus and he's like, I don't see it, This guy's dressed in rags. He's clearly not of the upper echelon of society. He's like, if I was going up against him for some position or something, I would not be too worried. So he's kind of puzzling over this. He's like, why? They call you a king. What are you a king of? And Jesus enters right into his line of thinking. He says, yes, I'm a king, but I'm not a king of this world. Because as you know, if I was, then my followers would defend me and die for me to keep me from being here. As it is, though, this is not my kingdom. And so then Pilate's interested. He's like, okay, so then where is your kingdom? And Jesus says, for this I was born, for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth, to be the king of truth. Everyone who belongs to truth listens to my voice. He says, my kingdom is all truth. Truth itself. And if you think about it, everything that is, everything that exists, then falls under truth. If something is real, if it exists, another way that we talk about that thing is we say, it's true. So then everything falls under his kingdom. In Christian iconography, the way they depict God as like king of the universe, king of all creation, he's standing there holding an orb, a circular orb in his hand. And actually in our sanctuary, it made its way in. So you've got God the Father up there. He's holding that orb. That's him saying, this is what I'm king over. Everything. Everything that is true. Everything that exists. So then we might say, well, then great. So he's our king. He's king over everything. Well, there's one thing that can choose to remove itself from truth. And that's any being that has a free will. Angels and us. If we choose, we can actually choose to remove ourselves from truth. Rocks can't do that. Plants can't do that. Animals can't do that. Nothing else that exists can choose to remove itself from the kingdom. But you and I can. Anytime we choose something contrary to truth, contrary to goodness, we effectively are saying, no, I don't want to be in your kingdom. That is the nature of sin, is to say, no, I'm going to do it this other way. And deep down inside, I might actually know that, like anytime we tell a lie, right? When you tell a lie, what's the danger you're taking? That it might be found one day. Because the lie, the untruth, the only thing holding up the untruth, supporting the untruth, is me. And if I ever slip up, then the lie is seen. It's a very difficult way to live, actually, when I'm lying or when I'm living outside of truth. Because anytime I remove myself from that orb, from the collection of all things that are true and good, now I become the one who has to hold it up. And that's an impossible equation, because I myself am only held up by him. So one day, as my life begins to fade, all the things that I have created in untruth will begin to emerge, and I won't be able to support them anymore. Versus living in truth, there's nothing I have to do, because he holds up truth, literally holds it in his hand. When I dwell in truth, at moments it might seem like it's difficult to tell the truth. But long term, in my life as a whole, what reigns if I live in truth? Peace, wholeness. I'm not having to juggle all of these things all at once to support this untrue life. But rather, I just rest in the hand of the Father who holds up truth. What is Jesus saying to you and me this weekend? Is there a little corner of my life that I prefer to keep exempt from his kingdom of truth? I'm generally a good person. I'm a good guy. I'm a nice guy. I don't cut in front of people in the grocery store. I smile at people. I say nice things. And so I'm pretty good. So then maybe on Friday night, I kind of feel like, well, I've kind of earned it. I can kind of, that's kind of where my guilty pleasure lies. Or that's kind of where I can kind of push the limits a little bit. There's a little part of, maybe it's the TV shows I like to watch. Well, yeah, I can kind of push the limits there a little bit and do things that I know are not good, which is the same as saying do things that I know are not true. If it's true, it will be good. If it's untrue, it leads to evil. Is there a little part of my life that I prefer to bracket off and remove from God's jurisdiction? And if so, then I should have no surprise that I have pain in my life, anxiety in my life, that I feel split, that I maybe feel depressed sometimes, because I'm trying to straddle two worlds, the true and the untrue. What if instead I allow the light of truth to shine into my entire life and to hold up everything? Is Christ the King of every aspect of my life? Does he rule even in my personal life, in the TV shows I watch, in the websites I go to, in the company that I keep on the weekends? Does he rule in every nook and cranny of my life, or are there small parts of my life that I prefer to remove from him, bracket off from him? And if so, that's an impossible thing to hold for forever, because eventually the truth will reign over all things. Jesus wants us to rest in his arms. And so this weekend we ask him, Lord, in this confused world, in this sort of mixed up world, give me the courage and the humility to remain in truth. And as I come to receive you this weekend in the Eucharist, to receive truth itself inside of me, Lord, help me to let go of any untruths I cling to you, so that you can be the Lord of my entire life.